Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. It's a lovely day for a bit of exploration and modest treasure hunting. I'm stood amongst these lovely flowering trees on a fairly large-scale old dump site. It's not the oldest dump site I know of. I know and have filmed several times of a much smaller, much older one in this town that this one was built to replace. I do not have great expectations for what I might find. So far I haven't even managed to find the bit of a dump site that bottle diggers have dug. This bit of a site, in fact most of it I think, is well capped with gas control and very young looking trees, but I do know that there have been bottle diggers here somewhere. Other YouTube video makers have filmed here bottle digging, and a bottle digger I met once told me where this site is, so let's go looking and see what I can find. They really meant business when they put in the gas control here. However, the nearby houses are higher up still, so I would guess there's a high incidence of A.S.M.R in residents there, and other ill health. Living next to a landfill does have a reputation for shortening people's life expectancies. I'm happy to visit these places, but I'm lucky that I've never had to live too nearby. Another gas chimney and the houses over there on the hillside. All the land between here and there, save for a steep little bit of hillside, is landfill. It's a bit economically declined, that part of this town, and they use the hillside below as a bit of a dump site even now. I walked from there and saw. It wasn't pretty. Now I don't know which way to go, so I'll go this way. A first indication that I might be on the right track, a solitary sherd of pottery. Could just as easily be a modern addition, relic of a picnic in the woodland, but there's a fence ahead and that's another possible indication. Well, I see a bottle digger hole straight down the hill. No more visible that way, though that's the way I think I should go after checking out this small patch of digging. First find is a bit of brass. It's a pen, or maybe a retractable pencil. Don't think I've ever seen either made out of brass before. That's not really saying very much. There's plenty of things I've never seen before. A nice whiskey bottle, but the moss inside has a prior claim on it. Very familiar bottle, milk of magnesia, but it's nice condition and I do love this colour. It might be the best bottle I see today, so I'm going to take it. A milk bottle, Halifax Dairies, fairly local, and this too is in pretty good condition, so I think I'll take it. Interesting to see that this shallow little scratch on the hillside is revealing things. Would have thought they'd have kept the sides as well as the top. Traffic's very loud here. Hope it's quieter in the heavier dug parts. Nothing else of interest here for me. All along the fence line and between the traffic noises, there's wonderful birdsong. There's a corner and a vintage jar. Am I going to see all the treasures poking out of the hillside beyond? No. Oh well, the search continues. Just got to decide whether to head down or keep following the fence line. The fence line's overgrown, so I'll follow the game trail diagonally downwards. tiny little bottle. Not the tiniest and not the most bottle-like bottle, has a bit of a jar about it, but it is quite cute and I like it. I'll take it. And the game trail leads directly to a bottle digger spoil pile. Stopping because I see some amber glass. It's just a little face cream pot, but let's see. Well, it does have some glass sickness, and I'm trying to maintain a bit of discipline, not taking everything. For anyone who doesn't know, glass sickness is an inherent instability in the structure of the glass that allows ground conditions to get in and cause more instability, unsightly blemishes, or sometimes sightly iridescence are the results. An ink bottle. I don't think it's one that I've already got, and though it does seem to have little bits of both types of glass sickness, I think I'll take it. Right down there I can see a big patch of bare soil. Might be some considerable digging there, but I don't want to go straight down if there's things up here to be found, and there are. Not amazing things so far, but bits and pieces. A little spool insulator, and it's starting to look like this banking was used as a dump site up until very recently, long after the dump site was officially closed. One more corner, and doesn't look entirely promising, but there is a little stream down there, and I think I'll head down to it. If there's stuff in it, I'll climb up it. If not, I'll head further down and make my way to that patch of bare earth I spotted, which is kind of that way. The thing about going down steep hillsides is concentration leads me to spot things that are making it appealing to not go straight down, like that little patch there. I do seem to have a thing for picking up amber things today, but when the sun is like this and the light through the glass is essence of glorious sunset, I think that justifies taking it, fairly modern though it may be. And this little bottle, too many things calling it home for me to want to take it home. That's interesting to me. Oh, well, that's a surprise. A curly-twirly piece of Victorian gas piping. Narrow gauge, about 500 grams of brass. Nice. I will have to break it up a bit to put it in my bag, so back soon. Poison bottle, a more modern, non-embossed clear glass screw-top variety. Probably held disinfectant? No. I do prefer my poison bottles a bit more interesting. Some amber glass. Oh, a Lysol with poison ridges and not to be taken embossed on it. I'll take it. It's not much, if any, older than the other one, and it's not amazing, but when I'm not finding much, I'll find things that I wouldn't take on other days more appealing. A lot of plastic on this slope, such is the case in most 30s to 70s dump sites. That's the range I think this place was in use, but there's always a chance of finding earlier things thrown out later. The gas pipe is evidence of that, albeit not all that interesting. Another amber face cream pot. Am I going to find a third today? That's often how these things go. Don't exactly have a use for these, but maybe by the time I edit this video I'll have figured out an excuse for taking them, beyond just liking them today. Intriguing piece of red plastic, looks very much like a head. Let's see if there's a body attached. Okay, it's supposed to be a Native American, I think, possibly doing a war dance. Seems likely from the pose, and he's holding a spear and a war club. I don't know which tribe he's supposed to be, and I can't tell yet if he was made with crass cultural insensitivity, but I wouldn't be at all surprised. He is, after all, quite red, and Red Indians is the now largely frowned upon term I grew up knowing. Well, I am most dreadfully sorry. The last few clips appear to have been accidentally filmed in time-lapse mode. I didn't find much, but I'll include them, I think, before carrying on. Slightly sedate pace, and the thing I'm immediately drawn to is this, an amber bottle in an apothecary style, and that's a style that I really do like. It's certainly going to have to be when I leave though, one more hole than it's supposed to have, and I've got plenty of fixing projects to be going on with at home. Ooh, unusual bottle. Well, actually I've seen a similar bottle fairly recently, but made of plastic, a small hotel shampoo bottle, so I'd guess that that's probably what this held. A very familiar bottle, a Gordon's London Dry Gin bottle. I recently read about the gin craze in London in the 1730s to 50s. Fascinating history with many horrors. The remains of a transformer, I think, and a button, maybe, or maybe not. Might be part of a shotgun shell, though too corroded to be sure either way. Fuzzbutt, first bumblebee I've seen this year. I do love them, even when they won't stay still for my camera. Another transformer. This one would have been wall-mounted, maybe in a fuse box. I think there was similar in the fuse box of the house I grew up in. And thinking about it, the electricals in that house may well predate most of what I've seen in this dump site today. A nugget of cobalt blue glass, a melted bottle I think, and I'll take it. I'd like to put it through a rock tumbler, smooth off the sharp edges, and make it into a nice tactile, beautiful blue blob. If it turns out nice, could be a potential jewellery piece. I think I've found all I'm going to find on this plateau, so I'll head this way into the woods on a diagonal descent down towards the river. Should be able to see any and all bottle digger holes that I've thus far missed along the way. an interesting piece of glass poking out. It's intact, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. Maybe it's a coaster for a teacup, with ridges designed to keep it central and secure during the ups and downs of life at sea, even though this is almost as far from the sea as can be in this island nation. A little bit of brass, I'm not sure what. The dog is back. The birds don't seem to mind me too much, but they go quiet when the dog gets loud. A patch of things here and some appealing-looking wire. I think that dog might be barking at me, an intruder ruining the usual routine of its woodland walkies. Nicely full of copper. Would be #1 copper wire if I was a scrapper, rather than an amateur forge operator with an unfortunate tendency of setting my protective gloves on fire. Little cobalt blue jar, screw top, but nothing's perfect, and I do like the colour. A patch of hillside with a few little bits of digging and a fair number of surface bottles, bags down for a look around. Some cast iron, wonder what that's from. Sewing machine treadle maybe, or part of a mangle. Mangle, I think, missing a lot. That's plastic in a landfill. Not really in much danger of getting into the river. Where does one start and finish with litter picking? Most of the plastic I pull out of the environment is just going to go into another landfill, and this stuff is already in one. Should I be pulling it out? Kinda depressing seeing landfills naturally spilling out into nature. Can't be graceful in a tangle of branches. Sorry, knocked the camera on a branch, and this milk glass pot wasn't really worth wrestling my way down here. There's the rest of a mangle. Theoretically that would be restorable if it wasn't in such a hard to get into and out of place. Could be a fun restoration project, but would not be fun trying to get it out of here. Golfers, they lay these little plastic egg things in most of the woodlands I wander, and I've never seen them make a proper nest. I find them in the river too, and for all of these that I've found, I've only ever seen one that had hatched. Yes, I'm being silly. It's actually my ground state of being. I'm just usually not in that mode when out mudlarking. I'm sure I've spotted something amongst the dry leaves and bones of Himalayan balsam, but it's proving elusive. There, a brass finial, probably off a bedstead. My other finds, which I didn't film finding, nothing very interesting, just some more brass, and a walk back towards my bags, looking as I go for anything interesting. Looks like birds have been scratching here for insects. If you happen to see anything interesting along the way, then please do shout out. Paint can lid, aluminium I think, and a brick. I don't think I'll ever be a brick collector, but I certainly like some people who are. I see some cobalt blue glass poking out. Let's extract it. Kinda looking like another milk of magnesia bottle. Don't I really want it? Don't think so. I'll leave it for the next mudlark who comes along. But will any other mudlark find their way to right here? Possibly not. Bovril jar, I think, standard brown glass. I have too many already. Some more genuine bottle digger holes revealing a whole mess of what seems to have been only a short way below the surface. A semi-melted bovril or Marmite jar, can't tell which. Kind of fun, but not much fun to clean. Rust and ashes tend to ingrain into the surface of the softened glass. It's really not a very deep pit that's been dug, unless the digger filled it in again, and that's actually quite rare in my experience. Well, there are defined spoil piles, and that suggests they didn't. Yeah, I think the number and size of the spoil piles are commensurate with the dugout volume, so it's quite a high concentration of stuff coming out, though the age of it means there's probably very little that the bottle digger actually took. I'm not seeing anything much that I really want either. That bottle might be worth a look. Green, something like a bleach maybe, screw top, and sturgeon embossed near the top. It's got a bit of sickness on one side, but nice and shiny the other. I think I like it, so I'll take it. Nothing else. Some more bottle digger holes further down. I don't think I know of another site with such far-flung diggings. I'm really having to put in a lot of legwork to visit them all, and I'm still probably missing some of them. Very steep too. It's good exercise, I suppose. Some brass, not too interesting, just some scrap. The other bit of it. Vulcanite bottle stopper, largely ignored when I'm finding lots of interesting things, but a prized find when I'm not. Thwaites & Co. Blackburn. Now, any marbles, any buttons, any coins, any beads, bangles, rings, or other treasures? No. An aqua-coloured bottle there though, maybe a late throw-out, looks like 1900 to 30s. Most of what I'm seeing here today is 1930s to 70s. Little ladybird, muted colours, I almost missed it. Another first sighting of the year. Rusty bedpan there, and broken window glass, quite thick, and a broken toilet. This is the prettiest part that I've seen of this poor beleaguered beck, so very built up and polluted by plastic further downstream. Yes, the dumpsite is spilling into the water, and this at least I can remove and take up the hill far enough that it's not going to fall back in. I think somebody, probably the council, did try to hold this dumpsite back and prevent this spillage, but only some rebar remains of their efforts. Some little bits of brass, that's part of the handle of a teaspoon, I think. Quite corroded. Anything else? Well, a swing-top bottle stopper. Field. Something like Lingfield, maybe? Not one I have already. I'll take it. And I'll take the tiny, insignificant pieces of quite corroded brass. Copper wire. Looks like carpet, kind of thicker though, very brown. Maybe that's what they tried using to stabilise the bank. Lots of ironwork poking out. Don't know if this would be worth revisiting with boots that are made for wading. It is quite a nice stretch of river, so worth it or not, it still might be pleasant to come and do a litter pick treasure hunt here. Just seen poking out a green glass bottle. Let's get it out and see what it is. Too many things in hand. Bad planning. Now. Oh, that's pretty. H.I.S. Drug Department. The I in the middle is much bigger, so is it H.I.S. or I.H.S.? Either way, I think this has to be my find of the day so far. Now I've got to figure out how to carry all of this and that battery and climb out of this river-cut little cove and all the way back to my bags halfway up the hill. Going to need both hands. Little electrical insulator with some copper wire remaining. The tiny cut-out cove is just up there, and there is more of the dump inexorably sliding down towards and into the stream. So, yeah, I think a wade here is getting more and more likely. Get to see many more of the things in the water, and upwards looks at the bank, sees different things from looking down. Some brass, half of a washer, not very exciting, but scrap brass. Oh, unexpected, an ink pot from a school desk. That's leather, a broken insulator, and along, just checking out some of the riverside before attempting to climb back up in order to climb back down further downstream. Now that bucket might be helpful. Just don't want to be carrying the extra weight of the mulch in the bottom of it. Yep, this is going to be a great help in carrying the lead and the battery and the brass and the bottles up the hill. Just going to have a look around here for a bit first. It looks like a very old bottle digger hole. Some brass and a lot of lead. It's most probably a weight from old clockwork, a grandfather clock maybe, but not a very grand one with this plainer shape. I'll remove it. Gabions, on the face of it not a bad way of preventing a dump site from falling into a river. It certainly seems to be catching a lot of the water flowing down, as well as the spillage from the bottle diggings that I can see, but to be fully effective it should be built all the way along the dump site. The water that it's collecting is following the path of least resistance, not filtering through the gabions as I think was the intent, but washing some of the dump site things and a lot of sediment out this end. Certainly not redundant engineering, but not as effective as I think they thought it would be. The sun is about to set. I've just found what I think is probably a vacuum cleaner at the end of a run of searching all those bottle digger holes uphill of the gabions, and I've just realised that the camera was on the wrong setting again. Vacuum cleaner first, and then time-lapse footage. This thing is the most interesting thing I've found, and it's not all that interesting, so it's not much of a loss, just a few more dumb mistakes today than usual. Quite an ugly array of metal, but it's effective engineering protecting the tunnel from the big things that even this small river might slam into it when it gets all boisterous after rainstorms. Sadly for me that means no access to the tunnel from this end, and no easy exit if I want to explore it from the other end, which I do. The river goes under some fairly interesting old mill complexes. This is the bare soil patch I saw from up the hill. I walked along that top edge from that corner and couldn't see some of the digger holes over there that I can now see. This patch first. The bottle digger who told me about this site said that he would never dig here. It's just too modern for his tastes. But the thing about younger sites is that the variety of finds increases dramatically. Oh, I know that older generally equals more valuable in terms of bottles at least, but I, who have never sold a bottle and have little to no intention of ever doing so, do prefer sites with a lot of variety, and this site today has given me that, so I'm very grateful that the bottle digger told me about it. I do wonder just how much of this hill is solid landfill. Probably not much on this slope, maybe a thin skin of it, but over the tunnel, probably most of it. Some brass. Ah, it's another lead-filled clockweight, so similar in style to the other one I found that I can easily imagine them being from the same clock, even though they were about 50 meters apart. I'll take it, not so much for the brass, which is contaminated by the lead, but to prevent the lead getting into the nearby river. Possibly, probably, maybe my last find for today. Looks like it's trying to look like a hand grenade. Time bomb, embossed several times in a rolling script banner that crosses the gap in the middle, in which is this little thing. A hammer maybe, so I think it's a toy, and I guess it was designed to set off caps with a bang. Wouldn't find many things quite so frivolous as this on an older dump site. Well, that was a surprise. I went in with the lowest of expectations, and it was fun. I came away with some nice bottles and vaguely interesting things, had some good exercise, found a likely looking spot for a future little river walk, and though I don't think the dump site itself warrants future revisits, I'm glad I made the effort to come out today and explore it once. A roundup time. More than a year has passed since I filmed that outing, and I'd forgotten about the short stretch of river that might well be worth a wade. Think I'll try and get on and do that fairly soon. Video might follow in another year or so. I'd also forgotten how much fun that site was. Vast stretches of hillside to explore. That's how I spent a large part of my childhood. So even if there really isn't much left to find without digging, and that's not something I do, and what other diggers have left there isn't all that interesting, I may well go back sometime. I don't think another video there would be worth my while, but please do feel free to tell me if you think otherwise in the comments. The finds. This Native American warrior, I can't find out much about it, except that it was made in Great Britain by a New York-based company called Mark's Toys. Very much a capitalist company, no Marxist tendencies at all, named after the founder Lewis Marx and his brother. While the term Red Indian is now thought of as being at best a little ignorant or thoughtless, and at worst quite disrespectful, I don't think there's any connotations that can definitely be attributed to the red colour of the plastic. I've seen many red plastic toy soldier type things and dinosaurs and farm animals. Red was just one of the common plastic colours, along with grey and white. I am happy to have found an intact ceramic desk inkwell. Perhaps strangely, I think I'd be even happier if I find another intact one. I found so many fragments and almost intact examples of a plain white, much cheaper version that was so commonly used in schools, and an intact one of those is what was in my head as the B-list bucket list find. This grenade thing, I am not sure how common or uncommon it might be. I couldn't find another example with the roundabout search terms I thought of, and I don't really want to type the actual name of this into search engines, even if it's in a word string like time bomb, clockwork, cap detonator. I think a search like that would likely get flagged up for closer inspection. I definitely found these lead toys on that outing, but can't quite remember when. Think they were probably all found in the first accidental period of time-lapse footage. I do usually notice much quicker when I get the camera on the wrong settings. Don't know why I didn't that day. I hope it doesn't become a regular senior moment thing as I get older. Anyway, I found a lead toy horse and what looks like both female and male wartime workers, a warden and maybe a messenger. vintage dress weight, probably older than the Dumpsite, and onto the bottles, some surprisingly good bottles, though I think I'll only be keeping a few of them for my own collection. I like the Sturgeon bottle and this HIS drug debt bottle. Can't find a similar one online, but probably because of a commonality of the words rather than actual rarity. A fair amount of copper and brass, as is often the way with later Dumpsites, and approximately 0.4 of a gram of silver. Not much by any means, but I am collecting silver for some craft projects, so it's very welcome. These are electrical contacts, and some old contacts are made not just with silver, but with cadmium too. So if you're into scrapping and see a reddish blob in contact with a silver contact, well, I wouldn't even try to harvest the silver from that. I'd seal it up in something and try to find a responsible service to deal with it. Cadmium is very toxic and disposed of carelessly could kill a lot of creatures. And yes, I have found some in an old Dumpsite before. I've digressed, so yay, silver! And that's the finds. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, and if you'd like to, then any expression of that is most welcome. So a big thank you in advance to anyone who presses the like button, the subscribe button and the bell icon, writes a comment, replies to somebody else's comment, shares a link to my videos on another platform. It all helps. And another big thank you to all of the kind people who donate through Ko-fi, super chats during premieres, super thanks on video pages and purchases from my Amazon wish lists. I am very grateful. I hope that you're looking after yourself and loved ones as best you can. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.